Have you ever stopped to think about something as simple as scrambling an egg? You crack it, you whisk it, and that's that. You can't ever go back. Or you pour cream into your coffee and it mixes perfectly, but it will never ever unmix itself. It seems so obvious, right? It's just how time works. It moves forward. But here's the crazy part. The fundamental laws of physics, the very rules that run our universe, they don't seem to care which way time goes at all. And this quote, right here, gets to the heart of the mystery. All the big equations, from Newton's laws of motion to Einstein's relativity, they're perfectly happy running in reverse. A planet could orbit the sun backward, and the physics would still check out. And yet, in our world, everything we see tells a different story. Coffee cools down. We get older. We remember what we had for breakfast, but we have no memory of what we'll eat for dinner tomorrow. So what's going on? Where does this one-way arrow of time actually come from? So to figure this out, let's first take a closer look at what feels like an absolute truth. Time's one-way street. Okay, so here's the central conflict in a nutshell. Down at the tiniest, most fundamental level, the world of atoms and particles, time is a two-way street. The rules are totally reversible. But zoom out to our level, the world we live in, and it's a one-way highway with no exits. Things happen, and they can't be undone. Ice melts, eggs scramble, the direction is locked in. This is the question that has kept physicists scratching their heads for ages. I mean, if the building blocks of reality don't have a built-in forward button, why does our universe act like it does? There has to be something else going on, some other principle that forces time to march in only one direction for us. And it turns out, there is. Physicists have a prime suspect for what creates this arrow of time. And it all comes down to something called the law of disorder. The magic word here is entropy. And really, you can just think of entropy as a measure of messiness or disorder. The second law of thermodynamics is one of the most unbreakable rules in the universe. And it says this: in a closed system, like our universe, things naturally get messier over time. They don't get tidier on their own. It's not a suggestion, it's a fundamental property of reality. Let me give you a super simple example. An ice cube is a state of low entropy. Its molecules are all locked together in a neat, orderly crystal. But just leave it on the counter, and what happens? It melts into a puddle. The molecules are now all jumbled up and disorganized, a state of high entropy. See, there are just way more ways for things to be messy than for them to be tidy. So systems naturally move toward messiness. And that movement, from order to disorder, that's what we perceive as the arrow of time. So this is it. This is why you can't unscramble an egg, because that would mean going from a messy, high-entropy state back to a clean, low-entropy one. And the universe just doesn't work that way. It breaks the second law. So, case closed, right? Well, actually, this answer opens up an even bigger, way more profound question. Just think about it for a second. If the universe is constantly getting more and more disordered as time moves forward, then what happens if you run the clock backward? Logically, it must mean that in the past, the universe was more and more orderly. And if you go all the way back, what does that imply about the very beginning? And this leads us to the most mind-boggling clue in this whole mystery, what we now understand to be the universe's incredibly tidy beginning. Here's the big twist. You'd think the Big Bang, this massive cosmic explosion, would be the most chaotic, messy event imaginable, but it was the exact opposite. For reasons we still don't fully understand, our universe began in a state of extraordinarily low entropy. It was incredibly special, finely tuned, and perfectly orderly. The cosmic egg was completely unscrambled from the get-go. And that is the ultimate mystery. Why? Why did it start that way? Because if the universe had started in a typical, messy, high-entropy state, there'd be no room for disorder to increase. There'd be no thermodynamic arrow. And without that arrow, you get nothing. No structure, no galaxies, no stars, no planets, and definitely no life. The only reason we have an arrow of time is because the universe started in this one special, orderly condition that gave time a direction to flow away from. So what does this giant cosmic secret have to do with our daily lives? Well, it turns out this is the deep reason why all of our experiences of time seem to point in the exact same direction. It's why our arrows all align. You see, scientists sometimes talk about 3 different arrows of time. First, there's the one we've been talking about, the thermodynamic arrow, the move towards messiness. Then there's the cosmological arrow, which is just the fact that the universe is expanding, not shrinking. And finally, there's the psychological arrow, our own internal feeling that time moves from a past we know to a future we don't. And here is the absolutely beautiful aha moment. These three arrows aren't separate. They're all connected. They are all consequences of that one special low-entropy moment at the beginning of the universe. The expansion, the increase in disorder, and our own perception of time's flow are all locked together, pointing away from the Big Bang. Let's make this really personal. Why do you remember yesterday but not tomorrow? It's not just some philosophical idea. The actual physical process of forming a memory in your brain is an energy-intensive process. It creates heat, and it increases the total disorder, the entropy, of the universe. Your memory works because of the thermodynamic arrow. You literally can't remember the future because that would be like unscrambling an egg. It would decrease entropy, and the universe says, nope, not allowed. So all of this leaves us with some truly deep, mind-bending stuff to think about. So let's wrap this up with a future to ponder. So why the tidy beginning? Well, the leading ideas sound like they're straight out of science fiction. Maybe it's just what's called a brute fact. The universe just is that way, and there's no deeper reason. Or maybe our entire universe is just a rare, temporary bubble of order in a much larger, messier reality. Or, and this is a big one, maybe we live in a multiverse. In this view, there are countless universes, and most of them are chaotic messes. We just happen to live in one of the rare ones with enough order to allow for life to evolve and ask these kinds of questions. And that leads to one final, wild thought to leave you with. If our arrow of time is just a feature of our universe's starting conditions, could there be other places, maybe another universe, where the arrow points the other way? Could there be beings who experience time running backward compared to us? They would remember our future and look forward to our past. What would that even be like? It's a question that pushes the boundaries of physics, and it just shows that something as simple as scrambling an egg is connected to the deepest, most profound mysteries of the entire cosmos.